Well, hi there everyone, FarmSim Gamer here. I hope you're all doing well and welcome back to the channel. Now today I'm going to talk to you about ploughing and how this Lizard Subsoiler has changed things quite significantly, and I'm not just talking about working width and speed. So stick around and I'll show you how you can make some of your field work just that little bit easier. Now that Lizard Subsoiler was a very popular mod back in FS19, but it's going to be worth its weight in gold in FS22, and the main reason for that is that ploughing now has a much bigger impact in the game. Mainly the fact that it doesn't produce any weeds as a result of ploughing, and the fact that we now have stones dug up from the ground as part of the ploughing process. Now you can of course turn off weeds and stones in the settings menu if you want to, and you can of course turn off periodic ploughing as well, but if you're producing root crops like potatoes or sugar beet, or you're harvesting corn, then you will need to be ploughing at some point. So why is that Lizard Subsoiler so beneficial? Well, it's a bit of a hybrid. You get the best of the ploughs and the best of the subsoilers without the negative impacts. Now, as you can see from this graphic from the Farming Simulator Academy, ploughs don't produce any weeds. They only drag up small stones from the earth, but the trade-off is you get a relatively small working width and lower speed. Subsoilers, on the other hand, have much bigger working widths, better working speed as well, but they do produce weeds and they do drag up large stones, both of which are going to cost you more money and time in the future. Now I'm going to ignore spaders for the purpose of this video, but if you do need to plough your fields, then all three of these will perform the same function and change the status of your field. Now let's take a quick look at all three implements and the impact that they have on the field. Here's your traditional plough. We've obviously got the ploughed texture here in the field, and we've only got small stones that have been dug up and produced. Now if we go and have a look at a traditional subsoiler, now I know there are some different subsoilers that have ring rollers in them or something like that that kind of give a different sort of field status, but here you can see that this one produces a cultivated field state, and we've got some fairly large stones and rocks that are in the field as a result of this working the land. Now lastly, let's go and have a look at that Lizard Subsoiler, and as you can see fairly easily, the actual ground texture is exactly the same as the plough, so you get this ploughed texture, and as you can also see, you only get small stones that are produced as a result of this. And if we have a quick look at the map, you can see that both the plough and the Lizard Subsoiler show the ploughed state, and the regular subsoiler in the middle shows a cultivated state. And then if we just flip over into soil composition, you can then see the little strips of red that are left where we haven't done any ploughing at all. So they all have the same impact from that perspective. So having dug up some stones, let's just have a quick look at the impact that the set of rolls have on this. Now I'm using this Gootler Matador set of rolls, 6 metre width. Used to have these in FS19 as well, which I used on quite a regular basis, but they've recently appeared on the ModHub for FS22 as well. And as you can see on the ploughed ground here, those stones are being rolled back into the ground quite nice and easily, so that's pretty good. Now, as you probably gathered, we're on Elm Creek here. I am going to go and do a little bit of a test of this on Haut Beyleron as well, because there have been some comments about the level of stones on Haut Beyleron, and I just need to kind of see if there is any sort of difference between the two maps and the impact the set of rolls might have kind of on the ploughed ground. But you can quite clearly see that these are kind of being pushed back into the ground quite nice and easily. Now next up, let's have a little look at the traditional subsoiler that brought up those big sort of stones and rocks, and as you can see, the rolls are having no impact on those whatsoever. And then finally, just over the Lizard Subsoiled ground, where we've got the ploughed texture again, you can see that we've only got some small stones there, and they're quite easily being pushed back into the ground by this set of rolls here. Now I talked about this Lizard Subsoiler being a bit of a hybrid. If we go into downloadable content and into the ModHub, you will find it under the Subsoiler section, which you would kind of expect. If you go into the shop menu and go into tools, however, you'll find it under the plough section, not the Subsoiler section. So that does suggest that it might be a little bit of a hybrid. Now what makes this Lizard Subsoiler unique and where it comes into its own is it can of course be mounted on the front of a tractor, which means that you can use it with another implement, and that really saves you a huge amount of time. Now thankfully this Gootler Matador set of rolls is exactly the same 6 metre width, so the two can be very easily used in conjunction with one another. Now I did do a bit of a test as well to see if they could be both mounted on the rear, and as you can see they can. However, I did have a bit of a problem with an AI helper. You could kind of use it, but it didn't recognise when it wanted to stop. So that might be a little bit of a problem, and you definitely need a weight on the front as well because it is a bit rear heavy. Now I did notice as well that there were a few stones that were left in the fields. These sort of look a little bit larger, sort of more on the medium size. And if you look at the graphic where the stone sort of section is, it does show sort of three separate colours: yellow for small, orange I'm guessing for medium, and red for large. Now the game only normally talks about sort of small coming from ploughs, large sort of stones and rocks coming from some sort of subsoilers. But clearly there's sort of a bit of an in between there that perhaps the set of rolls isn't getting rid of. Now I did go back and fast forward time to check on the weed status, and as you can kind of see, the top section there where we ploughed has no weeds whatsoever. The traditional subsoiler here in the middle is definitely showing some weeds, and then down here where we have the Lizard Subsoiler, that's not showing any weeds at all, so that's good. So that was kind of performing as we would expect it. Now I did do a little test as well to make sure that the AI helper worked as it should be, and by simply hitting my H key you can see that it folded both implements down quite correctly, and it also kind of drops them down into the ground where it should have done. So that seemed to be working absolutely fine, which was really good. So I think definitely the best option is subsoiler on the front and the set of rolls on the rear. Now I did also notice as well that if I stopped and then restarted the AI helper, sometimes the rolls kind of missed a little bit kind of in between, but it's fairly easy just to be able to lift the subsoiler up and just drop the rolls down and kind of go back over it if you need to. And you also might find with both implements on, one on the front, one on the back, that sometimes it just kind of misses a little bit on the headlands, depending on whether you've got a bit of an angle or whether it's a sort of straight edge or not. You can see there's a bit there that's been missed. So you might have to go round and kind of just redo your headland if needed. Now I did say that I would transfer up to Haut Beyleron and give this a go up here as well to see if there's any kind of different impact. Like I said, I've read a few things that have suggested that sometimes some of the stones that you get on Haut Beyleron, or the volume of stones that you get, seems to be a bit more, and it seems to be doing okay generally speaking, but there are a few odd patches that it's missing, the same as it was in Elm Creek. You can kind of just see there, and it does sometimes seem that the subsoiler sort of kicks a few stones out to the side, possibly, but having said that, they also look as though they're a little bit on the sort of slightly larger side, or sort of certainly medium sized stones, and I did sort of just run back over them with the set of rolls on its own just to see if that would push them down, but it didn't. So I do suspect that some of these stones are kind of bigger than the smaller ones that the rolls can cope with. Now you do of course have another option, and that is to use the stone picker as well. Now the only downside with the regular stone picker is that it's not the same width as the 6 metre subsoiler. Now you can get a 9 metre subsoiler, and for those of you that are on PC as well, there is a modded version of the stone picker that also has a 9 metre width, which is the one that you can see here. Now this is by a modder called Iconic. It is on various FS22 kind of mod sites, not the official mod site, so I won't kind of give you any links, but all you'd need to do is just Google FS22 stone picker mod and you will find this one easy enough. But like I said, it's going to be for PC only, I'm afraid, but this is a possible option for you. So you could subsoil at 9 meters, use the 9 meter stone picker, and quite happily kind of clear your field under you know, kind of just one pass. Now you will need a fair amount of horsepower to cover this. I think the subsoiler needs 320 and I think the stone picker needs about 120, so you're probably going to need about 440 horsepower for your tractor. Now as far as the other one is concerned, well, one thing I have found as well in terms of actual power is that the Matador set of rolls only needs 80 horsepower, so that's pretty light. The 6 metre subsoil, it does suggest that it needs 260 horsepower, so combined you would expect these to be 340 horsepower. However, I am pulling these with Massey Ferguson 8S, which is only running 225, so we're certainly a lot less, over 100 horsepower less than the recommended requirement. So just a quick recap of the implements that we've been using. The Googler Matador 610S roller, which comes as a grassland roller or just a regular roller, costs 15,000. The additional charge for the grassland is 1,500. Only needs 80 horsepower to pull it, so pretty cost effective. And then the Lizard 6MT or 9MT, 6 metre or 9 metre subsoiler, 260 horsepower required for the 6 metre variant and 320 for the 9 metre variant, and they cost 17,000 and 19,000 pounds respectively. So again, pretty sort of cost effective really for the working width that you have. And just very quickly, that new stone picker is in the stone picker section in tools, and if I scroll along to the end, there's actually two modded versions in here. There's a slightly modded Scorpio 550, which has got increased capacity, and then there's the 9 metre version, the Scorpio XL, and you can adjust the capacity on this as well. Goes up to all the way up to 1 million mass, which is going to cost you a fortune, but that's the option there. Like I said, it's going to be PC only, not available for console, I don't believe, and you'll be able to pick it up from kind of most of the FS22 mod sites. So just Google FS22 stone picker iconic and you'll find it easy enough. Now, I know that many of you will be familiar with this subsoiler from FS19, but with the changes that have been introduced for FS22, specifically at the likes of stones, the impact that ploughing now has on weeds, and the positive impact that that subsequently has on improving your yield, and the fact that you can kind of use this tool to multitask with other implements like this set of rolls, make this an absolute must-have for any farm. So with the ability to plough at 6 metres at roughly 13 to 14 kph, removing 90% of your stones, leaving a great seedbed state with no weeds and a 20% boost to your yield, all in one single pass, make this a pretty cost effective and efficient way in which to produce your seedbed ready for drilling. Now that might have sounded like a bit like an advert, but I really do think that this Lizard Subsoiler has come into its own on FS22 and a very worthwhile piece of equipment for you to be able to have on your farm. Now, if you want to be able to remove all of those stones from your field, then of course the modded version of the stone picker is a good option to be able to utilise in conjunction with the 9 metre version of the subsoiler, and particularly if you're kind of interested in wanting to be able to make some money out of those stones as well, with the introduction of some of the lime factories that you can get now as well, then collecting these stones and rocks is also a good opportunity to be able to make some additional income. So this might be a good option for you. It will cost you a bit more money of course, but it'll certainly add something else to your gameplay. So that's it for the video. I hope you found it interesting and informative, and as you can see, with ploughing becoming even more important in FS22, having the right tools and equipment to do the job is equally as important. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, then give it a thumbs up, and if you've got any feedback, then please leave a comment down below, or if there's other ways that you found of improving your farming efficiency as well, then drop me a note below. It'd be good to see what those are. So thanks very much again for watching. Wherever you are, stay safe, take care, and I will catch you on the farm next time. Bye for now.